Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I keep you up to date with all of the gaming news, and I hope you had a great weekend. I've actually been in New York City for the last few days, and I missed my usual weekend video, which I do apologize about, but I just got back and it was a busy weekend for game news. The Phantasy Star Online 2 closed beta was up, and from the sounds of it, it was very successful, which is always great to hear. If you got into the beta, I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to give me your impressions of it. So yes, we will talk about that, plus a lot more. Activision will apparently be pushing out more remastered games and reimaginations. Nintendo apparently requested Kingdom Hearts Sora to be in Super Smash Bros., or at least that is the rumor. A new Sony patent, which sounds pretty shady to be completely honest, plus more, so stay tuned for all of that. We're going to kick off this episode with Persona though, because Atlus released a survey where they have been asking if fans would like to see Persona games ported over to the Nintendo Switch. This includes Revelations Persona, Persona 2, 3, 4, and 5, and also includes several of the Shin Megami Tensei games, as well as several other games including the Catherine Full Body game, and you also have the Etrian Odyssey series. Of course, the one that has most people excited is the Persona franchise, and it has garnered a lot of attention. Persona is one of the biggest JRPG franchises right now, and to this day has mostly remained a PlayStation exclusive franchise, outside of a few like Persona Q, which went over to the 3DS. Now here's the thing about that. SMT Network on Twitter is claiming that Persona 3, 4, and 5, as well as Catherine Full Body, has had some kind of exclusive deal with PlayStation, which is the reason we have yet to see them on another platform. And if that is indeed true, then we must ask ourselves, why would Atlus now be doing a survey to port these games over to the Switch? Well, I think that could be an indication that the PlayStation deal has either expired or is expiring soon, as Atlus is investigating on whether or not there is enough interest to port these games over to other platforms. And to me, I've always thought the Nintendo Switch is the perfect platform for the Persona franchise. For me, I've always preferred to play JRPG games on handhelds, and I don't know why that is, but I've always felt that way. And that's why Persona 3 and 4 felt so perfect to me on the PlayStation Vita. To be completely honest, I was actually really upset that Persona 5 was not on the Vita as well. And in a way, the Nintendo Switch reminds me a lot of the PlayStation Vita, so for me, I would much prefer to play the Persona franchise on the Switch than any other platform that is out right now. We also have to remember how popular handheld gaming is over in Japan. Mobile gaming is actually huge over there, much more so than traditional home consoles, so that is another reason for them to port it to the Nintendo Switch. I mean, Persona is a big franchise in Japan after all. I also think that Persona 2, 3, and especially Persona 4 Golden, which I think is the best in the franchise, needs to find a meaningful way to be played on modern devices. I was able to play them on the PlayStation Vita, but it's not like a ton of people actually have the Vita. I mean, no offense, I love the Vita and everything, but not a lot of people ever bought the thing. I think if something like Persona 4 Golden came to the Switch, it would be a big time seller and immediately become one of the best-selling JRPGs on the Switch. Seriously, it's an amazing game, it's an all-time great JRPG, and putting it on the Switch would be a very big deal in my opinion. Though I don't think that Atlus should stop there either. I think the Persona franchise should go to all platforms, including PC and Xbox. Especially PC, we've seen a lot of Japanese games release over on that platform, and they've done very well. Outside of the Final Fantasy franchise, the Persona series is one of the must-play JRPG franchises, so yeah, make it to where everybody can play it. I do think that Switch makes the most sense though, as I think it would sell the most there, but what about you? Would you like to see the Persona franchise come to the Nintendo Switch? If so, and I know this might be a hard question, but which Persona game would you prefer to be ported over to the Switch or other platforms if you only gotta choose one? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on, let's talk about these Activision remasters or reimaginations, because I do find this to be really intriguing, or at least when I initially heard this being reported. See, Activision has had 3 great games in this regard in the last couple years. First, you had Crash Insane Trilogy, which was a huge success, plus then you had Spyro Reignited. I mean, that's another amazing game. Both of these are some of the all-time great franchises from the 90s that deserve to return in a big way. Not only for the nostalgia's sakes from the 90s gamers, but it's also a way to revitalize these franchises in meaningful ways to where young gamers can play these games once again. It's actually really cool to see these more modern gamers get to check out some of the games that I grew up with as a kid. It also gives me hope that Activision will make Crash 4, which they are developing from my understanding, and also even a Spyro 4. I mean, that would be really cool as well. These games were wildly successful, so it just goes to show you that they are more than worth the investment to get a sequel. But then you also have Crash Team Racing, which is yet another successful remake from Activision, and there is even a leaked mobile Crash game now that is apparently made by the developers, I believe, who worked on Candy Crush, or whatever that game's called. I never really played it, but I know it was insanely popular. But beyond the old 90s mascot remakes, that's when Activision's reimaginations or remasters gets a little bit more murky. So they also did Call of Duty Modern Warfare here recently, which was good. I mean, I don't think it had the same impact as the original Call of Duty 4, but it was still good nonetheless. Plus, Call of Duty always sells really well, so there's that. But then you have the dreadful Warcraft 3 Reforged. And when I say dreadful, that very well may be an understatement. And for me, I tend to always view Blizzard as a separate entity than Activision, but the truth is, Activision and Blizzard is the same company now. And I know Activision has been pushing Blizzard to release content quicker, which I do think is one reason Warcraft Reforged was so wretched. So then I ask myself, what other games could Activision remake or reimagine? And there isn't really a lot of franchises that pop out to me. There is Call of Duty Black Ops. They could try to reboot it in a similar vein as they did Modern Warfare. I mean, that isn't anything major, but Black Ops has always been it's been very big in the Call of Duty franchise. Then you also have the Tony Hawk games, but I'm not really sure how you could go about rebooting that franchise in particular. I mean, it would basically be like just releasing yet another new installment. There is also Guitar Hero, and that was a really cool franchise there for a while, but like many Activision games, was just kind of milked yearly until it slowly vanished. They could go the Blizzard route and remake something like Diablo 2. That could potentially be a really big deal, as Diablo as a franchise is insanely big, but I know after Warcraft 3 Reforged, they have definitely lost a lot of trust from their fans, and now it's time to get real. I tend to be an optimistic person, so for me, I want to believe that Activision Blizzard could remake Diablo 2 in a meaningful way. Diablo 2 by many is viewed as an all-time great RPG dungeon crawler, but I do think Activision's policies may be hurting Blizzard from making the best games they possibly can. I don't have any hard facts on this, but I did hear a long while ago that Activision wanted Blizzard to release more games and also to release more mobile games as well, but I think the number one most important thing here should be to be focused on the quality of those games first. Don't worry so much about how long it will take to make the game, but rather just focus on making it the best you can possibly make it. I do wonder if that's why they decided to cut corners with Warcraft 3 Reforged, and if so, I just find that to be such a sad thing. We likely won't ever know, but I'm hoping that Activision Blizzard can learn from their mistakes here and make a better game going forward. If they can, a Diablo 2 remake would be perfect, but what do you think? What would you like to see Activision remake or even reimagine? Let me know in the comments below. So the Phantasy Star Online 2 beta was going on this weekend, and from what I've been hearing, it sounds like it may have surprised Sega just a bit, as the servers were hammered to the point a lot of people just couldn't log in at all. On one side of the equation, I'm sure this was very frustrating for those people who wanted to play as much as they could in the beta, especially considering there were special items that could be carried on into the full release if you unlocked them, but we have to remember this was just a closed beta, which is meant to iron out these problems. And then on the other side of the equation though, this is a good sign showing that a lot of people are very interested in Phantasy Star Online 2. This has a few significant meanings as well. For one, Sega has been very hesitant to bring Phantasy Star Online 2 to the West. I mean, this is a game that released in Japan way back in 2012, and it wasn't until Phil Spencer worked with Sega here recently to bring it over to Xbox, and that is the craziest part about all of this. Xbox isn't exactly known for JRPGs, but somehow Xbox is the ones who got Sega to finally bring Phantasy Star Online 2 to the West. So not only does this show Sega that fans in the West are interested in Phantasy Star Online 2, but it also shows Japanese developers that Xbox fans are very interested in JRPGs. This is something that a lot of Xbox gamers have been talking about for a while, and I think Japanese developers could see success on Xbox, especially if they combined it with Xbox Game Pass, which would allow Xbox Game Pass subscribers to play games they may not usually try. I could see games like Disgaea, which is incredibly niche, performing very well in Xbox Game Pass. Either way though, I've been hearing a lot of great things about Phantasy Star Online 2. It really seems like Xbox and Sega put a lot of effort into bringing this game over to the West. It looks great, the voice acting is done well, and even though their voices don't exactly match their lip syncing, but overall it looks like it's, pretty good so far. I keep saying looks because, as I said earlier, I was in New York City and sadly I missed the beta. It was something that I was looking forward to, I just didn't get the chance. However, I would love to hear your impressions, and even though I will be jealous that you got to play it before me, I want to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments below. Moving on, there is a juicy rumor going on about Kingdom Hearts protagonist Sora and Super Smash Bros. As we all know, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate hosts some of the biggest gaming icons across the game industry, and for a long while, fans have been speculating as to exactly what characters will show up in the DLC Fighter Pass during Season 1. A lot of that speculation did center around Sora from Kingdom Hearts. He fits the mold perfectly. He is a big gaming icon, and he is also a Japanese character, which most characters in Smash is Japanese based. Of course, he never did end up showing up in the Season 1 pass though, but according to Imran Khan on Funny Gamecast, said that Nintendo absolutely approached Disney about getting Sora as a Smash Bros. Ultimate character. The question then became, why didn't he? And it seems like Disney may have blocked Nintendo from doing this. Now, this is just a rumor, and I do want to emphasize that, and it kind of sounds like Imran was just speculating as well, but it is very interesting because Imran Khan does have sources in the industry, so a lot of journalists started to pick up this story and just kind of ran with it. I mean, again, it could just be pure speculation. I mean, it does sound like it was probably just speculation, but Disney is protective of their characters too, so it's not really unbelievable either. Imran Khan later in the podcast did note that he believes Sora or even Master Chief will be in Season 2 though, which, if that's true, that would be great. I think he would be a great addition and would be another really big Square Enix character in the Smash Bros. Cast. Either way, I really do believe Imran may have just been speculating here, so I wouldn't look at this as a deconfirmation for the time being that Sora absolutely won't be in the game. So, just a heads up on that. In other news, there is a really odd PlayStation patent out there right now where apparently Sony will give you an AI companion that will assist you if you get stuck in a game. This can be done through a number of different suggestions, and I mean, that sounds like a good idea, right? Well, yeah, that's what I thought too, or at least until, you read into it even more. While yes, this AI companion could be helpful by setting you back on the right path by maybe guiding you over to some kind of walkthrough, maybe a YouTube video or something like that, one of its suggestions, however, is apparently microtransactions. Yeah, I'm not really sure that's much of a suggestion. It more or less sounds like a way to get frustrated players to throw money their way, and I personally don't think that's a great idea. I mean, sure, that'd be a fantastic idea for third parties or Sony themselves. On the other hand, for consumers, it actually just seems a little bit shady. I think the AI companion in itself isn't a bad idea, just the microtransactions part. So if they push forward with this patent, you gotta remember, patents don't necessarily mean it's going to happen, it's just a direction that they could take. But if they just remove the microtransactions, and then I think you're good to go. The slogan is for the players, right? Come on, Sony, keep that in mind. Either way, this is just a patent for the time being, but it does seem a tad shady. Now, the last thing I want to talk about real quick is Dragonball Z Kakarot, as it has sold 1.5 million copies in just 1 week. That is crazy. I was not expecting this. I know Dragon Ball is a huge franchise, but it's not like every Dragon Ball game goes to sell a ton of copies, as many Dragon Ball games aren't even all that great. Kakarot, though, from the very beginning, looked like it was going to be a special entry. Really, it always kind of reminded me of the old Game Boy Advance franchise, The Legacy of Goku, but fully realized on home consoles. To see it reach 1.5 million, though, is fantastic. You're talking just 1 week. We are really starting to see something here though. If developers put the effort into making a good Dragon Ball game, then fans will rush out to buy it. It was really the same situation with Dragon Ball FighterZ, so they should do things like this more often, so let's hope this type of thing continues. Hey, they could try to do a Dragon Ball Super Saga. I'd be okay with that personally. I know there is some things they could improve on after Kakarot, and I'd like to see them get that chance. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button. Peace out.